Hi everyone, I'm going to read an itch to scratch. Here we go. Big Gorilla had an itch. It was right in the middle of his back. He wriggled and he squirmed, he reached and he stretched, but he just couldn't find the spot. He danced around the room, scritching and scratching. He bumped into a boulder and knocked over a log, but he still couldn't find the itch. Mother Gorilla frowned and said, "You need a scratching tree. It's just a thing when I have an itch. Now go away before you wake the baby." So Big Gorilla went off to find a tree. He wriggled and he rubbed, he scritched and he scratched. But the tree was all gummy and it stuck to his fur and his itch was worse than before. "It might be the thing for you," said Big Gorilla, "but it's definitely not for me." "You should wallow in the mud," said Warthog with a grunt. "It's just a thing for a hog with an itch." So Big Gorilla found some mud. He wallowed and squelched, he scritched and he scratched. But the mud was too sloppy and it went in his ears and it went in his eyes and his itch was worse than before. "It might be the thing for a hog," said Big Gorilla, "but it's definitely not for me." "You should try rolling in the grass," said Lion. "It's just a thing for a lion with an itch." So Big Gorilla found some grass. He rolled and he tumbled, he scritched and he scratched. But the grass was too tickly and it stuck to his back and his itch was worse than before. "It might be the thing for a lion," said Big Gorilla, "but it's definitely not for me." "You should try rubbing against an old anthill," said Elephant. "It's just a thing for elephant with an itch." So Big Gorilla found an anthill. He leaned and he rubbed, he scritched and he scratched. Then he scritched and he scratched some more. But the anthill he'd found wasn't old at all. It was home to an army of ants. They bit him and nipped him and chased him around. And his itch was worse than before. "It might be the thing for an elephant," said Big Gorilla as he ran away, "but it's definitely not for me." Big Gorilla raced down to the river and jumped right in. He splished and he splashed, he scritched and he scratched, then wearily walked back home. He washed off the ants and the mud and the gum, then wearily walked back home. He was tired and wet as he flopped on the bed, and the itch, it was worse than before. "Look what you've done," said Mother Gorilla. "You've woken our son." Baby Gorilla dashed from his bed and jumped on his dad's back. He wriggled and tickled and he scritched and he scratched, and Big Gorilla opened his eyes. He groaned. "A little bit higher, please, son. You're just the thing for a gorilla with an itch." The end.